This is by far the most fun and amazing rogue build I've ever played in D4. And it's no other than the rogue build, now fully updated for Season 5. And why is it a build? Well, shit. You don't want to know where my saliva has been? With the diseases I'm carrying, slapping on just a few of them onto my daggers melts anything in the entire game. Now, this build was originally created by god gamer Xarrio, and I've now created what I believe to be the most decked-out Season 5 updated version. But to understand this amazing build, we got a lot to talk about. So let's start by checking out how it works. Firstly, it's a build entirely reliant on the Andariel's Visage helmet. This means that the first Uber you're crafting this season is obviously going to be the Andariel's. Not only that, though, but you'll see more builds utilizing this helmet this season, seeing as it got buffed to the fucking moon. Now, this thing relies entirely on lucky hits, meaning more lucky hit chance on our gear directly relates to more Andariel Novas, which in turns mean, yeah, you guessed it, a buttload of big hecking damn. To get even more of these lovely Novas, however, we are easily able to hit the attack speed cap this season. This is due to the massive amounts of attack speed on the helmet in itself, but also due to Fists of Fate. These new gloves are just godly for this build, being able to stack up a whopping 50% lucky hit chance on just a pair of gloves, along with sorting out the attack speed cap. When it comes to scaling the damage further, there are things you need to know. Firstly, the Novas being damage over time means we can't utilize crit damage, and we need to rely on generic damage multipliers. For example, we're rocking the Close Quarters Key passive and scaling it via crowd control damage. On top of that, we're also relying entirely on crowd controlling enemies on top of that for yet more damage. And how does that work? Well, damn, every single goddamn rogue aspect requires you to crowd control enemies. So that's what we are doing. Now, from the footage here, I decided to swap out a few spells and aspects, but we'll talk about all that in a sec. I'm also mentioning that this is with pure shit gear, and I truly mean shit. Despite this, though, I was able to stack up half a build damage over time on Lilith. So yeah, build is looking pretty damn good. You're also able to play a similar setup with Barrage, but fuck that shit. We're all about the melee playstyle, baby. Anyhow, let's head straight onto the planner and how we build this amazing build. For the skills, the main change from the footage is the addition of Smoke Grenade instead of Caltrops. Caltrops is fucking clunky, so screw that. But there are a few other reasons we swapped. Namely, the Deadly Ambush node was bugged, meaning we could use it just via a trap skill. That's no longer the case. On top of that, Caltrops got massively nerfed. I mean bug-fixed. The enhanced Caltrops doesn't work with tempering anymore, just a heads up. Starting off with the gear, we obviously have Andariel's Visage LOL. This is so heckin' good now. It's literally Tyrael's might, an offensive gear piece, and the most godly of special affects on top of that. It also sorts out poison resistance, meaning we ignore that shit on the gear. Next up is the Kandura's Chest. This one is extremely strong for this build, due to the fact that we can stack up enemies and gain a buttload of additional Novas from it. This is just lovely. Next up is Fists of Fate. We grab this mainly for the lucky hit chance and masterwork that shit. The extra damage from the passive doesn't work, as at least it didn't work previously, so ignore that. Next up are the Pantaloonies. Here we have a few important stuff. First out is the Umbrous aspect. This is our main source of defensiveness, allowing us to stack up Dark Shroud stacks just from critting enemies. The other important factor is Tempering Dodge. This is needed to keep our Dark Shroud stacks up. For the sneakers, we obviously want a slick pair of Nikes, but seeing as they're currently not in the game, try to grab these for now. The weapons, though, are rather interesting. First out is the Creeping Death aspect. The scaling of this is just massive. and is one of the reasons we want to crowd control all enemies. It's also new for Season 5. It's also important that you grab chance to hit puncture twice here and start masterworking that shit. Other than that though, crowd control is the name of the game for the key passive. For the dual wielders, we have bursting venoms and pestilent points. These doesn't deal any damage, but they can indeed trigger lucky hits and is why we want them. For the jewelry, the noxious ice aspect is still godly, and the frigid finesse is the strongest passive currently. And finally, the rings. The rapid aspect is still goated as fuck, along with the retribution aspect. Another important factor to consider is Shadow Imbue ranks, which you need to temper here. This is to keep Shadow Imbuement up on each flurry we cast for additional lucky hits and big hecking damage bonuses. Well shit, gear and aspects are now done. What do you say we fuck off from here and check out the skill tree? Hell yeah, buddy. Starting off with Puncture, this thing has a great lucky hit chance and also makes enemies vulnerable. We then go to grab Flurry, which grants us attack speed whenever we spend combo points. On top of that, we get a free dash for permanent movement speed. We then have a few defensive passives and head on over to the agility skills. Here, we find Shadow Step, which is used for Unstoppable along with a whopping 20% damage reduction. We also have a new passive here, Unstable Elixir, which grants us 18% damage just from chugging a potion. And that's a pretty good deal in my opinion, I'll take that. And of course, Dash to become fast as fuck boy. Heading on to the subterfuge skills, we have a buttload of lovely passives here for defensives and Big Damn, and also Dark Shroud. We're also picking countering Dark Shroud here. But wait, Mr. Perragaming, we couldn't do crit damage, you said? Why are you trying to scam us? Well, shit. It's due to us gaining more Dark Shroud stacks. We need to crit to gain them, so some crit chance is mandatory. We also grab Smoke Grenade here, as it's just way faster than Caltrops and doesn't feel like dragging your balls through 10 miles of sharp glass every time we use it. In the imbuement skills, we're grabbing Shadow Imbuement for lucky hits, along with 12% Big Damn. Here we also find Deadly Venom and Alchemical Advantage, both great passives to have on the amulet. But the best one is still Frigid Finesse, for a massive 10% damage per point. The ultimate all sucks donkey balls, so we're only here for the lucky hit chance. And finally, the key passive. Close Quarters is still the best, able to double our damage with ease. God damn it, man or woman, you still here? You legend. Let's check out the Perragons, because I know that's what you've been waiting for. Starting us off, we have Chip. Now obviously the Andariel Novas doesn't deal physical damage, but it's still a 10% multiplicative Big Damn. We then go to Tricks of the Trade, where we socket Bane, a lovely glyph for some lovely poison damage. After that, we head straight on over to the Exploit Weakness node, which we obviously want, and slap on Control, real hecking good for 20% massive damage. Now we want to scroll down a bit to the Cheap Shot node. This was massively buffed, now gaining 25% damage on bosses as well. Here we also socket Fluidity and use it to boost both crowd control damage and damage reduction. For the 5th board you want to head up again, but as we're already here, let's check out the 6th and 7th board first. For the 6th, we have No Witnesses, where we socket Tracker. Easily the best glyph for this build, allowing us to boost our poisons by 33%. For the 7th, we have Eldritch Bounty. This is yet another reason why we wanted that good old aspect, shooting out poison imbuements via puncture, because then we gain 20% Big Damn right here. And then finally, for what is the 5th board, Deadly Ambush, we socket Exploit to instantly gain Vulnerable on all enemies, as that's just amazing for speed farming. I'd also like to mention that the Deadly Ambush node has previously been working without crits, I'm expecting this to be fixed though, seeing as it's been known for ages. If it's not, however, then we may just swap back to caltrops again and start hating our lives. Either way, we're done with this shit. Let's check out how to get heckin' good, my friends. Playing this build is insanely easy. The playstyle is the same, with the difference of us dropping smoke grenades onto our enemies instead of caltrops. It's so simple, in fact, that you can do basically whatever you want. Dash and Shadow Step is used for mobility. You're popping Shadow Imbuement whenever it's up, and press the Flurry button only for the attack speed. Whenever the attack speed bonus drops, you press it again. Pretty simple, huh? When it comes to our smoke grenade, we throw that shit on elites and bosses to gain its damage bonus, on top of also gaining some crowd control and a chance for lucky hit. When it comes to evading, you'll do it as often as possible to pull in enemies. Now here's a quick summary for all of the One Brain Cell Dad gamers to make sure everyone is on board with the playstyle here. And that, my friends, is all for this build. Sub, become an awesome member, and I'll see you in the next one.